For those returning for the second installment of the Eidolons of the Appalachian Mountains, welcome back to the Vortex, where myth and reality become one. For those who are new to the channel, we'd certainly recommend a watch of part 1. An intel foray into the mysterious beings that inhabit one of the oldest, most haunting landscapes in the world is an extensive subject to delve into. But the time has come for us to explore further into the Smokies, to discover the creatures behind the tales told by men of old for thousands of years, the spectres that still prey on those that dare to live there now. Let us begin with one of the world's most legendary monsters, the Wendigo, a gaunt, skeletal figure trapped in a perpetual state of decay. Its rotting flesh releases a stench so foul it can be sensed long before the creature is seen. Once human, now twisted into a beast of insatiable hunger and gluttony. Condemned to this half-life because it consumed the flesh of men, able to mimic human voices, often calling out your name. They lure victims off the path, deeper beneath the forest canopy. There, hidden in shadow, they strike and feed, safe from the sun that would otherwise burn their decaying skin. Navajo legends helped popularize the myths of skinwalkers, but that doesn't mean they're confined to Navajo lands. In fact, variations of skinwalker-like beings can be found across multiple indigenous cultures throughout North America. Skinwalkers were human once too, but they fell prey to greed. Power-hungry shamans who wanted to fast-track the trials and training that would have awarded them powers fairly would instead be damned to an existence of malevolent shapeshifters that take the form of animals at will, with the ability to mimic human voices, usually to entice them deeper into the wilderness. If this doesn't work, they'll use unsettling sounds and the primal fear that they emanate out to seep into their victims' senses. This is enough to drive a person to near hysterical, completely all-encompassing fear. The panic is enough to make any man run for his life, only to find themselves quickly and utterly lost in the woods, where they're easier for the skinwalkers to catch. Most of you probably expected to see Bigfoot on this list, but this one is a little out of the ordinary as far as Bigfoot lore goes. Like all things in this cursed mountain range, this version of the infamous Bigfoot is far from typical. Though the legends have existed of the hairy wild man that shakes trees, throws rocks at campers, and steals livestock for as long as the Americas have been inhabited by humans, the first time those of European descent filed official sightings didn't happen until the 1950s, when loggers reported unnaturally large footprints around their campsites and instances of their food supplies being ransacked. Since then, the reports, mostly surrounding the state of Georgia, have never stopped. In 2023, hikers recounted a 9-foot-tall, hairy beast watching them from the woods. Others speak of heavy footfalls, thunderous thumps of some enormous creature circling their tents in the dead of night. It unleashes primal shrieks that reverberate through the earth and into their very bones. So far, the Bigfoot sightings seem very much in line with all of the other accounts, right? Well, I did say that the Appalachian Bigfoot is a little different. This one comes with demonic hounds that heed its command, referred to as the Appalachian Chupacabra. They have very little in common with their semi-reptilian South American counterparts, outside of draining the blood of livestock. Their bodies resemble that of an emaciated canine, with wide shoulders that weaves through the thick growth like lightning. But the general shape to their bodies is where their parallels to dogs end, I'm afraid. Their jaws are fanged, with impossibly long teeth. Their muzzles end in squashed swine snouts. Their backs are lined with wicked spines. Their legs end in 3 taloned claws. The Appalachian Chupacabra has one more distinct characteristic. They don't operate alone. Instead, they hunt in small packs of half a dozen or so. They aren't afraid of moving into human spaces either, seen in many populated places, from golf courses to the shores of popular lakeside residences. Now, we cannot possibly cover the unnatural beasts of the Appalachian without mentioning the Notadeer. At first glance, this creature resembles a typical white-tailed deer, but the closer it gets, the more apparent it becomes that this thing is no benign deer. It has forward-facing, predator-like eyes that hold people's gazes with an eerie intelligence. It has disjointed, oddly formed limbs that give it a jerky, ungainly gait. These traits make it distinctly not a deer, hence the name. And if you were so unlucky that it holds your gaze for a long enough time, its disjointed limbs will disengage, and it'll stand upright on its 2 hind legs. Some argue that the strange sightings may stem from encounters with deer suffering from chronic wasting disease, which causes neurological symptoms and physical deformities. But that doesn't explain why it would walk on 2 legs, showing absolutely no fear toward the humans it encounters. No matter how rabid it is, no deer walks on 2 legs and makes a point of locking eyes with humans for long periods of time. Some believe it's a skinwalker, but others insist the Notadeer is something entirely different. An entity not born of shape-shifting magic, but something far older, maybe even far more alien. Next, we have the Whitethang. And yes, it's pronounced fang, with that telltale twang that all the Appalachian old-timers seem to have. The Whitethang is not another variant of the Bigfoot, despite its resemblance to its larger, more aggressive counterpart. As the name might imply, it is covered in stark white fur, unnaturally white and clean for a thing that lives in the wilderness. It does not growl or howl or bark. Instead, it unleashes a piercing, otherworldly shriek that makes the blood run cold, bringing with its sound a fear so deep, so primal, that those who hear it are frozen by the terror that echoes into their very souls. The few who have seen it speak of a man-shaped being that's 7 feet tall, that treks through the thick brush of the forest like a phantom. The Whitethang does not want to be seen. It does not seek to interact with humans, and because of its elusive nature, it resides in the deepest, most secluded caves and crevices of these ancient and mysterious mountains. So, in 1962, a journalist reported a very strange sighting in Grafton, West Virginia. He came upon an 8-foot-tall humanoid creature with grey, featureless skin that resembled the skin of a seal. The beast was incredibly muscular, with shoulders hulking so wide and large that it obscured the head that rested between them, making it look like it was headless at first glance. In the week preceding the sighting, no less than 20 other people came forward with eerily similar accounts, more often than not containing details that were identical to one another, even though some details were intentionally not printed in the paper in order to separate false reports from real ones. The Grafton Monster, as it became known, disappeared as suddenly as it showed up, and no other sightings have been reported since that week in 1962. What it was, where it went, or why it was there will remain a mystery embedded in the greater Appalachian lore forever. The Snallygaster might sound like a rather silly moniker, even a Roald Dahl creation for those familiar with his work, but the origins of the name came from the early German settlers who named this creature the Snallygaster, which translates to swift or speedy ghost. It's a strange mixture of several creatures. From afar, it appears to be a gigantic bird, but upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that it is nothing of the sort. Its skin is reptilian, its beak lined with predatory fangs, and some sightings report that it had retractable tentacle appendages that it used to grab up livestock if a sheep managed to dodge its wicked taloned feet. But it didn't consume the flesh of its reapings. Instead, it only drained the blood, leaving scores of lifeless carcasses in its wake. To ward off the Snallygaster, locals painted 7-pointed stars on their barns, a practice that can still be spotted in some areas to this day. It stands as a quiet tribute to the very real and deeply rooted weight of Appalachian mystery and lore. Well, that settles up this little trip into the depths of North American cryptids. Yet we've only really begun to uncover the eerie and mysterious spirits of Appalachian folklore that blends reality with horror. To rest a little easier tonight, why not subscribe? We can't promise protection, but we can promise you won't miss the rest of this series. There are many more tales that will remind you not to wander too far into the wilderness, where you're never truly alone. Thanks for watching. See you next time.